I'm sorry, my buns are not even. Yo, what up, and welcome to my surprise December book haul. I usually don't do book hauls because I like to go to the store like once a week or a couple of times a week and pick up whatever catches my attention. But this time, why I did this haul was because I was asked for a recommendation of a young adult book that deals with female romance. So, two females having a romance. And I thought that, oh, of course, I have recommendations. And then I realized I actually don't. I have recommendations for general fiction books, and I know one good young adult book that has both lesbian, gay, and asexuality representation. And then I have one like mediocre book that deals with the same topic. So I was very surprised. I went to the Estonian bookstores' websites and checked what they had, and I only came up with two books there, which was a total surprise because I feel like our bookstores cover basically everything that gets talked about in BookTube. We get a lot of new titles from different authors, different topics, different authors from different races. That was really surprising to me that there weren't any like solid female young adult books. So I went online and I checked out some of the lists that had recommendations for good young adult lesbian novels, and well, not lesbian novels, that sounds like it's very smutty, but that deals with the attraction between two girls or two women. And I surfed around on YouTube and I compiled a list on Amazon because these books were not available in Estonia, so I had to order them. And I have to say, compared to the books that deal with gay topics, the market is not that big. It seems like the boy romance is very much in our culture, especially with the film of Love, Simon coming out. So yes, anyway, I compiled a list and now I have all these books with me, and I'm going to go through them hopefully in next half a year, I would say, and see what is good. And let's start it off. The book that came the most highly recommended was Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour. This book deals with a mystery of a Hollywood letter, as I understood, and it's a summer romance and has great representation. It is about Amy, who is living in an apartment in Los Angeles, and what happens to her during that summer. This is on top of every gay, lesbian, young adult book, so I'm very interested on seeing this, although I'm not that keen on the whole Los Angeles setting because it seems very far off. Now, the second book that is also very highly recommended is by Sara Farizan, and Tell Me Again How a Crush Should Feel. And this book is a bit more with a regular setting than the last one, and it talks about a girl named Leila. She's Italian American and she hasn't had a crush yet, although she does know she likes girls. So when she goes to the academy and there's a new classmate called Saskia, feelings start to develop, and this book then tries to talk about what happens next. And I feel like this is going to be like this regular young adult romance with some mystery thrown in, and like I said, it comes highly recommended, and I do feel like I will enjoy it more, although the time will tell. Now, the third book I want to talk about that I ordered is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, and this is actually a sci-fi book that has female to female romance in it. I wanted to read this for a long time because everybody has it on their recommendation list for sci-fi, not for young adult female romance. But yes, it's about a mismatched crew in space who get a really big project that they have to do that will pay for the rest of their lives. And it sounds like everything will go wrong. So what happens then is the topic of this book. I'm super excited for this because, like I said, a lot of people who really like sci-fi have recommended it, and it feels like the crew is a bit more younger because I have read the female to female romance in sci-fi books, but it deals with like real adults. Now, the next book that is getting all the hype is Tell Me How You Really Feel by Amina Maasafi. And as you see from the cover, the two characters are going to be quite different. So it's about a cheerleader and a film nerd, and the romance that happens between them. This book kind of switches the trope that it's the cheerleader who first has a crush on the film nerd, and the film nerd doesn't really believe in it because she has seen Carrie too many times. And then there's a film project where they have to work together, and what happens after that. Again, this is set in LA, which for me is like, but it feels like it has some good banter from the reviews that I read. So I'm very excited to read this. This is a 2019 book, so very hip and with the times, as opposed to some of the previous ones that I showed you. Now, again, one book that takes place in LA, but which seems to be a bit more like fun and easygoing, is The Summer of Jordi Perez and the Best Burger in Los Angeles by Amy Spalding. And the book itself is very LGBTQ plus, and it has a character that is not the skinniest, so there are representation of all body types, and it is said to be like a classical rom-com. So I'm very excited about that. It already, looking at it, fills me with joy. But okay, so the premise is that this girl Abby, who is very fashion obsessed and starts a blog, gets an internship in LA, and then what happens after that? I got a bit confused reading the synopsis, but I'm super looking forward to reading this because it has burgers, it has rom-com feels, so what's there not to like? And again, this is a newer book, and it means it will be more current, although again, like I said, in LA. Why is everything in LA? The next book is called Echo After Echo by Amy Rose Capetta, and this is set in New York. The setting is in musical theater, and the main character is Sarah, and she's going to play a role in a Greek tragedy. This production will suffer from a death at the theater, and this Sarah will find love, or at least will crush heavily on a lighting director called Eli Vasquez, assistant lighting director. And this book will then have mystery and romance and musical theater in New York, and I feel this is more up my alley. And I mean, look at this cover, it already looks so dope. So this is the thickest book of them all. So I'm very interested in seeing how it will balance the romance and the mystery part of the book. Now, the next book is a bit different, so I thought that if I'm already picking out books that I want to possibly recommend to people, then I thought that one of the things that is represented in my bookshelf, but not in the amount that I feel like it should, is books about eating disorders and anorexia. And the book I picked up was Paperweight by Meg Haston. And the blurb says she's got nothing left to lose. This book talks about 17-year-old Stevie. The book takes place when she's already in the hospital or the recovery center, and it centers around her life, what led up to her being like that, and how is the recovery process. This comes very highly recommended, and this is the reason why I picked it up. The other young adult novel that deals with eating disorder and that also came highly recommended is Winter Girls, Be Thin, Thinner, Thinnest, and it's by Laurie Halse Anderson. And this book talks about Cassie and Leah, who did everything together to stay thin, but then Cassie dies, and this deals with Leah and how she struggles with her disorder, and does she want to keep on losing weight, or does she want to get better, and also doing all this while trying to deal with grief. So this is the second book I got on this topic, and I really want to get more, especially with other types of eating disorder, so I have like a nice understanding of them. Now, the final book that I got was Nomenon, and this is just a straight up sci-fi book that has no young adult topics in it at all, or eating disorders, and it's by Marina J. Lostetter. And I picked it up because it was in the Goodreads Sci-Fi 2019 recommendations, and the summary caught my eye. Nomenon is a convoy of 9 ships or vessels that are trying to colonize a new place for humanity. The voyage will take centuries, and what happens is that they're going to clone the people who are on the ships. I'm always interested in those kinds of topics where the trip will take a long time, and how people will deal with being confined into very small spaces and knowing that there is like no escape and they have to just keep on going. And what does a humanity need to stay human? Do they need to have all these experiences around them? Do they need to experience, I don't know, nature, life and death, or is it just getting the genes from one place to another? I'm very excited to read most of them, and the ones that don't feel that interesting are the ones that are most highly recommended, so probably something in them, the writing style or anything like that, will be good. This was all. I hope you found this entertaining. I'll let you know how all these books will go, and if you have any other recommendations which I should check out on the female to female romance or asexuality or eating disorders, then do let the recommendations, leave the recommendations down in the comments. I do have one really great book that I read about OCD coming up in my December reviews, so I'll talk about that topic then. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and bye!